Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, we get an update on the state of downtown Indianapolis. Business is booming in Shelbyville. A delivery service targets millennials. We spotlight tech giant Don Brown's latest venture. Women in High Tech marks 20 years. We preview Rev and the rest of the month of May in Indianapolis. And our panel of insiders takes on the top stories of the week. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. Downtown Indianapolis has seen projects over the past 5 years to the tune of nearly $4 billion, with nearly $1 billion more in the pipeline. Leaders there also say the downtown population could soon top 30,000. Downtown Indy Inc. President Sherry Seiwert and International Downtown Association CEO David Downey joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick with more on the state of downtown Indy.
It's that time again for the State of Downtown, an event the Downtown Indy puts on. So Sherry, I'll throw it to you first. In terms of the results of this study that really measures the vibrancy, the vitality of downtown, continues to outperform economically, growing with more people living and working downtown.
That's correct, yes. So we are continually seeing increased investment in downtown, particularly in the housing market. We have a couple of 2,200 more units in the pipeline on top of the 26,000 people that we currently have, 27,000 people we have living downtown. That'll be up to 30,000 by the year 2020. We have well over 153,000 employees in our downtown market, and the office vacancy rate continues to lower. It's a great story.
I want to touch on that one because that vacancy rate, the office vacancy rate a few years ago was a challenge, but that continues to change and improve.
You bet. When I started this position 7 years ago, not even 7 years ago, we were at 20%, and currently we're at 14%. So with the movement of the tech industry into our downtown market, and we have a healthy healthcare employment in our downtown market, it's going the right way.
I want to ask you about the housing in a moment, but David, as you look at downtown Indianapolis, and certainly you have a global perspective on downtowns, your assessment of downtown Indianapolis and what's going on?
So I would say it's very consistent with what we're seeing around the country. You know, these are city centers that are the economic engines of their cities, of their regions, and by all the numbers, Indy seems to be really pushing forward really hard. Yeah,
it seems that not just cities the size of Indianapolis and larger, but smaller communities too, focusing on downtowns and looking at downtowns. Again, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they didn't look at it, but now they look at it as a real economic driver.
Very much so. And we're seeing emerging downtowns. Indy would be what we consider a growing downtown, and even the established ones like your major market cities. Everyone's addressing these same things with office, tech, residential inclusion. Right. It's really becoming a dynamic.
Sherry, in terms of, you talk about the number of people living downtown, and we see have seen a lot of construction. Is the balance, the supply and demand coming more into balance now? Does that affect the affordability in a positive way?
You know, because we've been so aggressive with growth on the development side, we really have started to see the occupancy levels tick down just a little bit. We're still at a healthy level of 93.4%, which is, by comparison to other competing cities, we're doing well. But we do really need to slow it down a little bit, absorb what we have under construction, and get those occupied. Yeah.
Challenges, David, as you look at cities, whether it's Indianapolis or any city in the United States, they're downtowns. What are some of those big challenges that cities are facing?
Universal across the country. We're managing success now. So we're having different things happening with social order, people affected by homelessness, housing attainability, affordability. Downtowns are exciting places to be, and so the challenges really are around managing that prosperity.
Yep. Sherry, as we wrap up, in terms of an exciting place to be, the tech growth in Indianapolis and Indiana in general has been certainly on an upswing, and a lot of that's happening in downtown Indianapolis. As you look at the makeup, 7,200 new jobs added or being added downtown, and that makeup of a lot of in the tech space, the creative class, those types of jobs.
Yes. 33% of our immediate downtown jobs are made up of the creative class, and so when you think about design and music, and we're delighted that we're getting that creativity into our workforce.
The state of downtown, a new report just out shows that state of downtown Indianapolis continues to be strong. Sherry Sywert from Downtown Indy, David Downey, the International Downtown Association. Thank you both for being here.
Our pleasure.
Thank
you.
Still to come, a home delivery service by Millennials for Millennials, and new tech to help dieters with intermittent fasting. But first, business is booming in Shelbyville. Earlier this month, Greenleaf Foods announced a planned $300 million investment that could bring more than 450 new jobs. Shelbyville Mayor Tom DeBon joined us to talk about that and other developments in the Shelby County city.
All right, we had Mike Hicks, the economist from Ball State, on the show a few weeks ago, and his comment was he thinks Shelbyville can be that next it city in Indiana because of all the things you have going on. I mentioned Greenleaf Foods, Canadian company, $310 million investment, 460 jobs. That's a big deal.
It is, and I appreciate Mr. Hicks making those comments. Shelbyville's been on a roll the last several years. Since 2012, we've created over 1,200 jobs and almost $700 million in investment in the industrial market, and so we're very pleased with that.
As we were talking off camera, the bulk of this investment and growth is coming in foreign direct investment. You have 14 Japanese companies. This dates back 30 plus years as to when that began, but a lot of Japanese presence here.
Yeah, we're very blessed with that. We've got a very robust sister city relationship with Kambara and now Shizuoka City. We do teacher exchange. We teach the Japanese curriculum in our school system, and it's about accepting the culture and being diverse in our thinking. And because of that, we've hit home run after home run with our Japanese partners.
And one of the things that I have really noticed about Shelbyville and Shelby County, it seems as though everyone's on the same page. The political establishment, hospitals, schools, everyone on the same page. How does that translate into efforts to get workforce, to keep people there, but also attract new workforce?
Well, we look at it holistically. We understand we have to have the government piece, we have to have the quality of life piece, which would include health care, we have to have the educational piece, et cetera. And so, quite frankly, Drew Klasik and the Public Policy Institute sat with us in 2013 and really helped us start to map that out. Ball State did a sustainability study for us in 2014, and from that we had a map which we could work from, and we started engaging these partnerships, and it's worked very well for us.
Talk about partnerships, because you're really getting innovative when it comes to workforce. Your Project Impact initiative with Rose Holman, and also the Advantage Shelby County, I believe, with Ivy Tech Community College.
Yeah, so Project Impact started in 2012, and it was a relationship with the city of Shelbyville and Rose Holman, and we really wanted to, because we understood that manufacturing was becoming advanced manufacturing, we wanted to expose our children to the STEM curriculum. So with Project Impact, we grabbed these kids at the 9th grade level. We introduced them through telementoring, partnering with students on campus. The summer between their junior and senior year in high school, we send them to campus. So we've got a number of students going again this year. They do project conception to implementation, and then we bring Rose students, engineering students, into our local industry. And through that program, countywide, we've impacted over 600 children since 2012.
Yeah. I should mention, and this is kind of breaking news, if you will, but the Indiana General Assembly has approved some big changes to gaming laws, including table games. Right. That's going to have an impact in Shelbyville and Shelby County.
That's huge for us because, Indiana Grand is our largest employer overall. And so we're very pleased to see that. We'd worked very hard in the legislature in years past, and this year was very fortunate for us. So we're seeing over 300 jobs. Those jobs will pay between $45,000 and $55,000 base, not including tips. And I'm speculating here on my own, but improvement to the facilities, you're going to see probably $30 million plus in that. And again, that goes back to that $700 million number that I quoted earlier. Yeah. $0.7 billion in investment in Shelby County. I'm pretty pleased with.
Yeah. As we wrap up challenges, one's affordable housing in many communities, that type of thing. What are you doing in that regard to kind of keep up with this demand?
So we've got multiple projects going on. We have some single-family projects happening in the middle of our downtown through a infill development project. We have business-class apartments being proposed in our downtown, and then we're working with multiple developers to incentivize them to build in our community with workforce housing.
Mayor Tom DeBon, City of Shelbyville, a lot going on. We could spend a lot more time there. We'll have you back to talk about it. Congratulations on the growth.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Later in the podcast, an Indiana Tech veteran gets in on the intermittent fasting trend, and a prominent nonprofit celebrates 20 years. But now, Go Puff is an on-demand grocery and home goods delivery service that markets itself as by Millennials for Millennials. It delivers products ranging from snacks and groceries to household goods and school supplies. GoPuff Director of Communications Liz Romaine joined us with more on the company.
And I mentioned the items. You've got some of the items
Yeah.
here. These are just a few of the items, the many items that you deliver here in Indiana.
That's right.
Give us the GoPuff models. Launched in 2013 in Philadelphia. What's it all about?
Yeah, so we're a digital convenience retailer. So our customers can go onto our app, onto our website, and order anything that they want. We have over 2,000 products and get it delivered to them very, very quickly. And we have 4 markets in Indiana, over 75 in the country.
Yeah, the markets in Indiana: Lafayette, West Lafayette, Indy, South Bend, and Bloomington,
That's
with
correct.
plans to add more, right?
Well, we're hoping to expand our delivery zone in Indianapolis specifically by the end of the year so that we can get a little bit more of the coverage in the university and outside of the universities as well.
So much of the consumer experience now is about convenience, whether it's Uber and Lyft, a cluster truck here in Indiana, many other examples. What makes a GoPuff a little bit different in terms of controlling that entire consumer experience?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that really differentiate ourselves. One is that we own the entire customer experience, right? So a customer goes onto our app, our website, makes the purchase, and then all of the items we have an inventory in our warehouses. So once we get the order in, we're running around, we're picking that order, putting it in a bag, passing it off onto our drivers, who are then delivering to our customer. And so we're able to do this all, we aim to deliver within 30 minutes of an order. So we can do it very, very quickly. And we also really focus on convenience items, those items that you're craving or that you need in a clutch moment. You've run out of toilet paper, your dog is hungry, it's 2 a.m. and you need ice cream, we're there for you. And that's how we really differentiate who we are.
Yeah, and again, you're not going to the 7-Eleven or whatever it is to pick it up. These are items that you have.
These are all items that we have in inventory. We know that they're in stock. We know what people want, and we're able to deliver that.
And there has to be a big technology component, I'm sure, to this whole model.
Sure, absolutely. Through our app is where, a customer will obviously need to put in their address so that we can get to them very quickly. We're able to estimate delivery times, and we have a really great technology platform to really support the customer as best as possible.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I believe you're in 76 markets around the country, the 4 markets here in Indianapolis. Why do you view Indiana in general as a good market?
Indiana has been a great market for us for a couple different reasons. One is that there is a plethora of universities and colleges, and we do have a lot of millennials and Gen Zers who have embraced the app and embraced the service, so that's really wonderful for us. Also, people in Indiana do embrace technology, so they do want to have that on their fingers, that power on their fingers, and they appreciate the products that we have and convenience, so we're really looking to grow in the state.
Very good. Liz Romaine with GoPuff, a company that continues to expand in Indiana. Liz, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Right.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Still to come, Women in High Tech marks a milestone, and we look at the month of May in Indianapolis. But first, Indianapolis-based Lifeomic is capitalizing on the intermittent fasting trend. The company says its Life Fasting Tracker app has surpassed 300,000 downloads. Founder, tech vet, and medical doctor Don Brown talked about the company with Kylie Valletta in the Business of Health.
You're also a medical doctor, in
Yes.
addition to being a tech giant here in Indianapolis. So start with, what is intermittent fasting and why is it so popular right now?
Well, just briefly, we've known for a long time that severe caloric restriction, eating very little, improves people's lifespans and makes them healthier. This was discovered back in the 90s. There's even a society of people who try to get by on 1,200 calories a day for years. And there's no doubt they're healthy, they live longer, but they're not very happy people because they can't have beer, they can't have pizza, they can't have the things that we enjoy. I was going through a graduate program in biotechnology at Johns Hopkins about 3 years ago and stumbled onto some papers about intermittent fasting and proving really at a very detailed molecular level that we don't have to deny ourselves and try to live on 1,200 calories a day, but rather we can starve ourselves intermittently for a few hours a day. And that's the genesis of intermittent fasting.
And it's getting a lot of attention for losing weight, but it's not just for losing weight.
Not at all. There are all sorts of health benefits. Certainly for me, my motivation wasn't losing weight, but rather extending my healthy lifespan and hopefully reducing my risk of getting diseases like Alzheimer's or the Parkinson's that I saw my mother die of.
So how are people using the app on a daily basis? Just a quick introduction.
Well, they're using it to track their fast. We had built a cloud platform that we use at IU School of Medicine for a number of cancer teams, and we thought it would be fun to have, and useful, to have a mobile app that could tie to that cloud platform and provide some scalability test. I had our mobile team build a little fasting tracker that lets you click to start or stop the time of a fast, share the information with family members, and it just took off. We thought we would have a couple thousand people using it. This week we passed 350,000 people around the world.
That's fascinating. Talk a little bit more about the connection with IU School of Medicine and broadly the bigger picture for Life Omic and what you're doing.
Yeah, well, the real work of the company is to create a cloud platform because in healthcare, we're generating unbelievable amounts of information from electronic medical records, DNA sequencing, all these big data sources. And the healthcare establishment is having trouble storing that information and then developing insights from it that would help patient care. And so we've been working as part of IU's grand challenge, their PHI, to help several disease teams, including a breast cancer team, actively loading up information about their subjects and then using our platform to analyze it and try to figure out why is it that one woman will respond well to therapy and live a normal life and another will succumb to the illness relatively quickly.
All right, well, Dr. Don Brown, thank you so much for being here today. Really helped give birth to the Indie Tech movement here in Indy.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
Later in the podcast, the month of May is here in Indianapolis, and our insiders weigh in on the top stories of the week. But now, Women in High Tech is celebrating its 20th year as a nonprofit in Indianapolis. The organization is marking the occasion by awarding more than $20,000 in scholarships and grants to women in Indiana studying in the STEM fields. President Darcy Lee and President-elect Angela B. Freeman talked about the milestone in our Eye on Education segment.
Darcy, I'll start with you, the current and outgoing president. As you look at 20 years, it's amazing. I remember when the organization was formed, and the time has really flown. Talk about the organization marking 20 years.
Yeah, it's really significant. Founded here in Indianapolis and to serve girls and women in STEM in Indiana, making an impact on attracting more girls to STEM careers, retaining and supporting those in STEM careers as well.
Talk about that, because over 20 years I've noticed a sea change, certainly in that regard. Talk about the impact you feel that the organization has had on getting more women and girls involved in STEM.
Yeah, I think part of it is awareness of young girls, starting with the younger generation and doing a lot of work in that area for a period of time, seeing that impact as more girls go into STEM careers or into STEM in their college education, making them aware that those are opportunities and that they can do it and encouraging them to do it. And then you see it sort of in the professional world where you have more women in different STEM careers and different examples like, there's not as big of a pay gap in tech for women in leadership here in Indianapolis. And I think that's something that's significant and is one of the results of encouraging and supporting women in STEM.
Yeah. Angela, you're an attorney by trade. Your involvement in the organization, why get involved, and now very much involved in a leadership position?
Sure. So I actually started my career off as a molecular biologist. So I'm the scientist in the STEM and became a patent attorney. So that's what I did now, but have always been an advocate, supporter for women in STEM, more women in diversity in STEM. So this really aligned with my passions. That's why I got involved.
You talk about diversity and being more inclusive. As you look to some of the issues that you'll focus on with the organization in your new role as president, what will they be?
Sure. So I think Women in High Tech has done a fantastic job over the 20 years, really being a supporter and a trailblazer for the need for more women in STEM. I think we've had a lot of successes successes in that regard, but there's still more we can do, right? And I think part of that is increasing the diversity and the inclusion of the women in STEM in not just Indianapolis, but Indiana throughout the state.
Yeah, I want to talk about a couple of big events. It shows, I think, the impact that the organization has. Passport to High Tech was an event held at Conner Prairie in March, and the Ignite Your Superpowers event, which is very cool as well, will be held in August at IUPUI.
So that's an event that gives girls in Indianapolis schools the opportunity to engage with STEM careers and STEM professionals. They can see modeling, they can see other women doing those types of things, but it's hands-on experiences, things that are more sticky with girls, and middle school being a key time to reach girls. That's when a lot of girls fall out of STEM. So they can see female role models, they can have fun, but we're bringing a program that we do at Passport to High Tech that is open to the public, to a smaller audience that we invite, and purposefully on a college campus to give them that experience to see what it's like, and they can see other people that look like them and engaged in what they're doing on a college campus.
Very good. And hundreds of girls involved in
this over
program.
600 girls.
Wow.
So we need over 150 volunteers for this program.
Angela, too, if you would comment, $20,000 in scholarships and grants being handed out to women in STEM.
Sure.
That'll make a big impact.
Absolutely. So as we, Women in High Tech, thought about how we could most celebrate our past 20 years, we also want to invest in the future, right? We can't have another 20 years without continuing to invest in the population. And we thought the best way to do that was to provide scholarships and funds for women in STEM, girls in STEM, in undergraduate, graduate, or professional development grants to give them more opportunity and foundation to pursue their degrees, their careers in STEM fields.
Women in High Tech celebrating 20 years, continuing to make a big difference as well. Angela Freeman, also Darcy, thank you both very much. We'll continue to follow the story.
Thanks for having us.
You bet.
Still to come, perspective on the week's top stories from our panel of insiders. But first, the month of May has arrived in Indianapolis. The celebrations at the Speedway begin this weekend with Rev, which raises money for a good cause. It all culminates with the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500 later this month. Fifth Third Bank Regional President Kevin Hipskind and driver Graham Rahal join Bill Benner on Inside Indiana Sports.
Kevin, let's talk to you. This is your sixth year of Rev. You guys have been on board for 5 years. What attracted your company to this event?
Yeah, well, when we're looking for our partners in visibility events, we look for things that connect with our community. And there's nothing that connects more with our community than the Motor Speedway and with the Indianapolis 500. And when we saw the opportunity to partner with someone like IU Health for such a good need that serves the community on the critical care side, it was like the perfect marriage. And we really saw it as, in May, everyone gets excited. The sun comes out, we start watching motorsports, and we start thinking about May. And what a great event to kick off the month of May, and what a great partner in IU Health. So we saw the combination of the two and said, we've got to jump on board with this. And we did, like you said, we did it in the second year, and I really think that it's become the premier event in Indiana that kicks off the month of May.
And Graham, you served as co-chair last year.
I did.
What's this mean for the drivers?
Well, I mean, with IU Health and the foundation, it means a lot to us. Obviously, critical care, trauma is important. The infield care center, we know the effects that can have on our lives. Whether it be Hinchcliffe, who literally survived because of the care that he received on the spot, or whether we go out of town even and those doctors and nurses and everybody come with us. It means a lot. So to be able to support an event like Rev, Fifth Third Bank's been an amazing partner, both our team, but obviously for Rev, to be able to give back, have some fun, eat some good food, all those sorts of things. It's a perfect event, and I think, like Kevin said, kicks off the month of May, ideally.
And Kevin, you guys, again, you're on the car as well, so you've taken it from off the track to on the track with your sponsorship.
Yeah, about 4 years ago, we started looking into different ways, again, that we could be connected with motorsports in Indianapolis. We are the motorsports capital of the world, and we try to reflect the communities in which we serve. And so what a better marriage than to find a team that we can align with. And when we looked at the teams, we were really looking for people that really reflect the values that we have. And when we looked at Rahal, Lanigan, Letterman, we saw people that not only were highly competitive and a great race team, but also people that were committed to the community. I mean, Graham and Bobby and Mike, every one of them is very connected to the community and wants to give back to the community. And so we thought that it would be a perfect marriage for us. And we entered into a 1-year contract, and then we renewed it for another 3 years. And I'm really excited for the future with the team. It's been a great relationship.
Graham, you're taking the first laps for the Speedway, a little shakedown runs for the teams this week. You and Takuma Sato, your teammate, off to a good start for the season, and obviously high anticipation for the month of May, both the Grand Prix and Indy.
Huge. Yeah, I mean, we're excited to get going. It was great to be on track, turn some laps, get out there, shake it down a little bit. The weather wasn't ideal, but that's okay. Nor is it during the month of May a lot of times. So it was nice to be on track and shake off the rust a little bit. But we're excited to get back. You know, Rev, as we talked about, really kicks this thing off. Then we move on from there. The Grand Prix is huge, one of my favorite races of the entire season. But immediately turn your attention to Tuesday when we start running on the oval, and then it's all on from there. But we should, in the number 15 car, have a great opportunity to win this thing this year.
And as we wrap up, will we see David Letterman down pit side?
I'm sure Dave will be here. Dave always makes his May appearance back home, again in Indiana, I guess, in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So he will be here, I have no doubt.
All right. Well, Kevin Hipskin of Fifth Third, Graham Rahal, best of luck to both of you. Graham, have a great month of May, and it won't be long.
And finally, our panel of insiders offers perspective on the biggest business stories in Indiana. This week's panel includes Trendy Minds President Trevor Yeager, Hathaway Strategies President Ann Hathaway, and Winston Terrell Group Principal Robin Winston.
This week, the Indiana General Assembly, the 2019 version, wrapped up a lot of items. The most important item, I guess you could say, is a state budget, a new two-year state budget. And we'll kind of turn to the political folks, that side of the table. Your thoughts on, first of all, that state budget?
It was a great budget. There are a lot of demands on the governor and the legislature, and I think that they worked very closely together to figure out how to satisfy a lot of people.
And there was a lot of focus, of course, on education, and a big number at the end of the day there, depending on who you talk to. Some said
Exactly.
it's great, some said maybe not. Robin will weigh in on that. But your take on the education piece, the funding.
I think that they worked hard to find a number that made sense and to satisfy a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a positive move forward.
Robin?
Well, I think that you get 2.5% increase in funding for education. That doesn't keep up with inflation, but I don't want to be Mr. Yuck. The bottom line is that the governor came up with an innovative way to address the pension issue. Mm-hmm. And we once again defeated efforts to curtail the opportunity for communities to go to referenda to decide at the local level if they wanted to fund their schools. When they've done that, in community after community, from Zionsville to IPS, people have voted yes to let additional funding go to public schools. Mm-hmm. So that speaks well for the 1.1 million kids every day who choose public schools.
General, overall thoughts of the 2019 session, budget and otherwise, how it all played out?
There are a lot of distractions early with your Attorney General. I mean, that kind of distracted things to start the session. But I think when people get back and get focused on things, you know, the key elements that we have to do, because education is a large part of the budget, they address that. Job creation opportunities, they address that. We moved down the line on a hate crimes bill that at least will take us off the list of 5 states that don't have one. So I think in a substantive way, we addressed a lot of the main issues.
And you had new leadership in place in the Senate, all working together for the first time. I think that they really grew and worked together to be collaborative. Yeah,
sports, a big part of the Indiana economy, certainly, and a bill that passed the State House would create a new soccer stadium somewhere, whether it's downtown Indianapolis, the suburbs, somewhere in Indianapolis, for Indy 11. And going into this, there was a lot of question as to would this actually happen, and even the requirement that the Indy 11 become an MLS franchise or attract one here was taken out. So a win for the Indy 11.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a sports town. I mean, we know this. I mean, from the Indiana Sports Corp that started in 1979 to everything else from Indy 500, the Pacers, the Colts, I mean, Fever, I mean, the list goes on and on. So I think this is a good thing for the city. I think having a soccer stadium here will help us, I think, attract more people, more venues to do things with our population. I think we have a lot of younger people and older people that love soccer.
Do you think that, because it's interesting, the demographics of soccer and our need as a city, a region, a state to keep and attract more younger professionals. Do you think that soccer in particular, the demographics will play into that?
Definitely, yeah. Beer, soccer, I mean, they love it. So, I think it's going to be a good thing for the city.
Yeah, and I should mention up front that the Indy 11's a client.
Right.
But I think it's interesting how the ownership, Ursal Özdemir, really put together a different package to go about this.
He did. He was very creative with the package. And his goal was to bring the world's game to Indiana, and I think that the legislature's helped to do that.
Your Pacers are a client of yours,
yes.
So I should mention that going forward too. But the Pacers deal at Bankers Life Fieldhouse for improvements inside the fieldhouse, but also very much outside the fieldhouse too, which some would suggest can really help continue that Near East Side momentum. Your office is on the Near East Side.
It is.
Your take on that?
Yeah, I'm very, very happy with that. I think that's going to be a really good thing for that part of the city. We have got some major venues coming in, our events coming in over the next few years. The All-Star Game being one of them.
Right.
We need to show up well. I mean, the All-Star Game is basically, like our Super Bowl. So it's nice to have these venues. And I think when we do go after more events nationally, it's going to be nice to have that sitting right there that we can use.
Number of jobs announcements announced this week. A flavoring company coming to Greenwood, a Los Angeles area-based company there as well. So out-of-state investment. Packaging company going to Lebanon, $75 million investment. These will mean jobs too. And Robin, as you look at economic development, I think one thing to note on these, they're different. They're not manufacturing, which is the bread and butter, but diversifying the economy a bit and attracting investment from other places.
Well, sure. The corrugated box company coming up there, to Lebanon, the jobs coming in the flavoring company to southern part of the community. I think those are great. They're $20 an hour jobs. That's $40,000 a year. Mm-hmm. That's to start. That's not a bad income. Mm-hmm. It goes back to what we've been able to do to creatively have a diversified economy, not chasing smokestacks, but being able to do things at the local level where people can work in their community, reinvest back in their community.
And I think when you expand outside of the United States even, we had Shelbyville Mayor Tom DeBon on, and he said the majority of the growth in their community, foreign direct investment. We saw this week or recently a group from Delaware County, Muncie rather, in East Central Indiana, back from a trip to Europe. 20 years ago, you would never see communities, certainly auto towns, going overseas for jobs, and now it's commonplace.
Yeah, I mean, we're a global economy, and I'm glad to see that more organizations and groups and cities are looking at that. They have to. I mean, if not, we're going to be left behind. Other states are going to lead.
Yeah. Speaking of foreign direct investment, Subaru of Indiana Automotive in Lafayette, 30 years old. Hard to believe that it's been that long, but that is a plant that has continued to produce and outperform. Just recently produced its 4 millionth Subaru vehicle.
It's unbelievable. What a great success story. What a great employer. We're so lucky to have it in Indiana. To think about it, it was kind of the beginning of bringing this international investment into our state.
Yeah.
I remember when Evan Bayh helped open that plant. If you remember, there were protests from groups saying we should not be seeking Japanese businesses to our state. Well, come ride with me down 65 now, or go along and see all the things at NTN and those places down there. Not only, and you're right about diversifying, we're diversifying not only our economies, but the kind of people that are coming to our communities. Yeah. This is the only Subaru plant outside of Japan. So keep that in mind when people think about what they're doing to make a difference.
Yeah, interesting point there. We mentioned soccer earlier. In the business of sports, Notre Dame, I think a great example, Notre Dame Stadium, once the domain exclusively of football, American football, now is home to NHL hockey. Did the Frozen game in the winter. Kenny Chesney did a concert there, and now Liverpool Football Club going to play a big soccer match in Notre Dame Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, back to that diversification idea. I mean, you've got assets that are there. You're trying to pull in different types of venues for sporting and entertainment. We see that even locally here with some of our venues. You have to. It's a mix. People don't want the same thing over and over again. They want to be able to be exposed to new things that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have the chance to see. Yeah. So I think it's great to see that popping up there.
And we are almost upon the month of May, very close. So that means racing and
There's
a lot of
nothing like May in Indiana.
I totally agree. What just a general take on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So much change has happened there, so many different things.
So much change, so much creativity, looking ahead, trying to find new collaborations, new partnerships. It's just so exciting, and it just continues to take, the Indianapolis 500 and everything around it and make it more exciting and reinforce how important that is to our community.
I love Mike Tirico doing the game.
Yep.
Doing the race.
He's
Come
one
on.
of the best
Danica Patrick in the booth.
Yeah.
And Dale Earnhardt joining them.
gonna
You've
be
got
awesome.
old school
Right.
woman and an African American
Yeah.
all in there. So there's diversity
together,
there.
yeah.
Plus, look what's permeated away from the track all up and down Main Street in Speedway. It's also become a place where people are going, go there on a Friday night. It's packed.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's all been
great
great.
It's a new
success story.
destination.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right about
Well, we
that.
have Rev coming up next week.
Yes.
That's going to be fantastic and fun as always. So it's
always
great.
sold out.
It is, yes. So a good philanthropic event that's there.
And an event that in very short order, is this the fifth
This is the
year?
sixth.
Year. But in short order has become really an elite party in this city.
Yeah, it's hats off to Carol, the team at IU Health Foundation for really pulling this together and doing an amazing job with it.
How about the move to NBC Sports for the Indianapolis 500, but the IndyCar series, the entire series? A lot of people are very positive that'll add momentum to that whole situation.
Well, you're breaking away from ABC, and you're adding. Really, the sports network is going to cover this race. So I think that raises the stature. This is, in addition to, think about it, Notre Dame, exclusive contract, and the 500. Two Indiana iconic institutions on NBC. I think it's great.
Yep. And before we leave, should give a shout out to Ball State, the Miller College of Business, among the 30 best online MBA programs in the country. So again, the firepower of academic institutions, public and private both, in the state continues to shine.
It does.
Well, that's a precursor to the kind of students you'll attract too. If I know I can go there undergrad and major in finance and then stick around and get an MBA online as I work, tremendous.
All right, with that, we'll put a wrap on another edition of The Insiders. Robin Winston, Ann Hathaway, Trevor Yeager, thanks very much.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state, at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.